Hold on a minute, guys. Okay, so we can start now. So yesterday we were discussing about generics, right? So remember what is generics? Yes, what is generics? Remember or not? So generics allows you to create reusable type safe component. Type safe component means it will remove that particular type and you can actually assign any particular value to your variables even if you are using the typescript. So let's discuss it how we can do it. So I think yesterday also we have discussed about it, right? Okay. Now we are going to see that how we can actually use generics. And generics is a inbuilt feature of typescript. You don't have to import any library or something for that. So there is a next topic that is called decorators. For that we have to import something or we have to actually configure our file. But generics you can directly use. Now let's say there is a class and class of anything, let's say class of player. In this class of player, if I'm declaring a name and if I said that name will be string or not name, let's say age will be string. At first we are going to see that what is the need of using generics. Now let's say there is a player and I'm taking one variable as age which will be in string. String means you have to pass the age in words instead of digits. After that let's create an object of it. So I will say that object let object is equals to new player. And when you are creating the object, after that if you are trying to set the age, so object dot age is equals to 20. If you are writing 20 in this way, and it's fine because you are assigning your age to be string. Let's try to print this also whether it's working or not. So it is object dot age, and age is not a function here, so I will directly use it. Open the terminal and we are inside generics folder. So first go into that folder and then tsc zener.ts and then node zener.js 20 working fine. What if I want to provide the same age 20 to a second object? So creating the second object for player class. For that I will say let object 2 equals to new player. Once you are done with creating the object, let's try to assign the age. So I will say object 2 dot age is equals to 20, and now it will throw you error here. Okay, it is throwing the error. What it is saying, it is simply saying you one thing, that age is a parameter that will accept only the string, not the number. And it is saying you also the type number is not assignable to type string. You cannot assign the numbers to string. So that's a problem. But we have already solved this problem by creating a union. So this age is a string. I can create a union. So I will say string or number. String or number. Now that problem is solved. Right? Problem is solved. But is it really solved? Yes, it is solved. But what can be the possible problem here? If I'm trying to set the age in this way, what will be the problem? So once you are using it on a scalable, video is not visible. Lokesh, reconnect the meeting. Now everything will work. Even if you are writing this 20 as a string, it will work without any issue because there is no problem. Okay. But whenever you are using the union, you are not able to achieve the type safety. You are just doing it. Type safety is not there. Can we check how? So there are two objects, one object and there is the second object. First object is writing the age in string and second one is writing as a number. Let's try to check their type. So I will say console.log type of, there is a type of operator. So I will say type of object dot age, and then I will check type of object2 dot age. Okay. Now I am trying to check the type of both of the object they are assigning the age. And this is what we are getting. String and number. Now whenever you are using it for scalable purpose means whenever you are trying to use this particular class of player, every time it will give you two output. One output will be in the favor of a string and another output will be in the favor of number. And that's not what we talk about type safety. It's like JavaScript now. If you are creating a union here, this is JavaScript now. So if you check the corresponding JavaScript file to it, this is what the file. There is a variable of player and there is no particular value assigned here. What if user give 20? It is just a string, right? Doesn't matter. Even if you are writing whatever you are writing in double quotes, it will be a string only. Doesn't matter whatever you are writing inside it. Even if you are writing only numbers and you are writing the numbers in double quotes, it will be string only. It doesn't matter whatever you are writing. It will be string only. Okay, so string. Okay, even if you are writing 20 as a number only, but you are writing it within double quotes means only string. Doesn't matter what number you are writing inside it, it is a string. So type is programming languages doesn't check the value, they check how they are written. If they are written in double quotes means it is a string. Okay, now it is not able to achieve the type safety because every time this is the corresponding JavaScript file for the same, and you can check there is a variable of player and then there is a function of player, and which is actually using the same things. But the case is when this particular object or this particular class of player is trying to achieve so many things, it's not type safety. Now all the things are redirected to the class. Everything is redirected to the class. Even if we want to achieve this particular part, that age can be written in any way. So why to write it like this? That's why we introduce generics, and generics will help you to have the type safety. Let's check it. So let's say there is a class of player And this class of player, there is a rule of writing generics. You have to attach it with either class or functions or methods with these angular brackets, and you can pass any argument inside it. Let's say I will pass t is just for type safety, doesn't matter. You can pass a b c d whatever you want, small t capital T, doesn't matter. Now I am just saying that this class of player will be using generics. Generics means this angular bracket. And what will be the variable name? I am just saying t. This t is just like string and number. It is just a identifier here that okay, it will be in string, it will be in number, it will be in boolean. If I am writing t, I am simply saying that it will be in the generics. Okay. So let's say there is a class. Class is using generics. After that, let's decide the value. If here I am saying that age will be there, and again if you are writing age will be in number or age will be in string. Now there is no need to write this part. You can directly say that age will be in T. What I am saying? I am simply saying that age will be in T. Now, what does it T? This T is just a identifier for generics, right? Which is inherited from the class. Now, what is the benefit of writing this particular part? Okay. So for that, let's create the object. I will say creating first object. Let object 1 equals to new player. Okay. After that, if I'm saying that object 1 dot age is equals to 20, is it showing any error? No. After that, we can print this also. Console dot log, and here I will print object 1 dot age. Okay. Open the terminal and run the file again. Now it is returning 20. Can I set the value for string? Let's check. So here creating the second object, let object 2 equals to new player, and then object 2 dot age is equals to 20, and then let's print it. And by this method we are actually able to assign any value to our single variable, and that also maintaining the type safety. Now how it is maintaining the type safety? Because it doesn't matter what is the type of this object. Who is the parent here? Parent is the player class, and player class has only one type, that is T. So you can say that it is a wrapper class. What it is? It is a wrapper class which will wrap all the types inside it. Now let's try to create a third object where we will try to assign a boolean value. Creating the third object, and for that I will say let object 3 equals to new player, object 3 dot age is equals to true. And yes, that's totally possible. If you are trying to print this value, object 3 dot age, let's try to run the file. How many of you are there who don't know the meaning of this TSC? Everybody knows what is TSC? Okay, TS for typescript. What's for C? TypeScript compiler. Okay, so we are saying the TypeScript compiler to run the TypeScript file, and when it is converted to JavaScript file, then we are asking our node to run it. Okay. Now, what is the case that's happening here? The particular case is very simple. If you are checking the type of object 1.age, object 2.age, object 3.age, they will be returning their value only. But the case is those type are assigned to these objects. Those types are not assigned to the class. Class is having only one type, that is called T. And what is T? It's a generics which will help you to have the type safety. Let's try to do one thing, printing the type of object. For that, I will say console.log type of object1.age, and then again type of object2.age, and then again type of object3.age. Okay, and it will return whatever types you are giving to them. But let's say we are giving number, string, and boolean. But these are the child objects, right? These are the child objects. Let's go back to our class. Are we assigning any union to our class? No. Let's say there is a particular application. So with whom the application will communicate? Child or the class? Of course, with the class only. And class will return only one type, that is called T. A T is just a random value here. You can keep A here. So let's say the generic name is A and this age will be going to A now. That's it. It will work fine without any problem. Right? It will work fine. It is just a name value that you are trying to give it. Now the case is it really able to achieve the type safety? And if it is able to achieve the type safety, then how? Like how is it achieving the type safety? So the case is very simple if you try to understand this part. In this particular part, what we are doing? There is a class of player who is having one parameter as age. Now type safety means first you have to understand that particular meaning type safety, right? Generally, why we are saving, why we are focusing on type safety? Let's understand that part. If you are working with backend or if you are working with databases, generally we works on the database that are the relational database, right? Generally, we are working on the relational database. Now, what is relational database? Databases that stores the data in row and column format. Those are relational database. Let's say this is a database now. And generally, whenever you are working with the databases, let's say this is a database of player only. Okay. And this is the section for age. Now, if it is a relational database, you might have knowledge about it that each and every column has a type. Either it will be int, either it will be varchar if you're working with MySQL, right? It means that each and every column will store only one type of value. But what we were doing in union, we were saying that age will be either of number or it will be of string. Now let's say one user has entered 20. Now age will check, can I store 20? Okay, I can store. But how it can store two values? Can you assign two data types to a single cell or single column? No, you cannot assign two data types for database. But in generics, we are assigning only one type that will be of type T. What we are saying that will be of type T. Type T, just use T because it represents the type, or else you can use any. Now, the case is again same. This age will not store number union string. This age will particularly store this part. Okay, what it will store? It will store generics of T. Now, if you are writing generics of T, it can store any value because it will check. Is it a type? Yes, it is a type. Store it. So it can store 20, 20, true, whatever you value you are giving, it will store now. And that's what generics are. So generics are using the type safety because you are not telling that, okay, how many of you have worked with database? Any database? Worked? Which one? MySQL. So in MySQL, if you are creating a table, generally how we create a table? Create table stu, then we write the parameter that there will be id which will be in int, there will be a name which will be in varchar 20, like this we write. Can you assign two data types to this id? Let's say it will store int and number both. Can you do this? It means that if you are using your union in terms of database, it's not good to use union because you cannot assign union type to the tables. But yes, we can assign a single type. But we want two things. First thing we want is, okay, we should be able to write multiple types of value, and when it is going to database we want only one type of value. Then who will solve this problem? Generics. Because in generics you are actually working only on one type. So I'm just giving you a hypothetical situation. Let's say you are creating a table of a student, or any, let's say you are creating a table of player. There you can define the custom data type where you will say that age will be in T. Now it is having only one type. What you are doing outside with the help of this T, you are actually able to store 2, 3, 4 types of values. That's how generics will achieve the type safety. Okay. Type uniformity or type consistency. It's type safety. Its case is very simple. It will allow you to have type safety. This is how you attach generics with classes. Now, how we can attach generics with our functions, right? Are we able to attach generics with our functions? Understood this part? Sure. Or if you have any questions in this part, let me know. Any questions? Understood everything? Shall I ask questions then? If you understood, then I can ask question, right? Sure. What is generics? It is type safety. What is generics? Type safety. Now I am asking, what is type safety? What is type safety? Yes, last. What is type safety? Declaration of types. Sit down. Understood this part? Attaching generics with classes. Then let's say attaching generics with functions. Now, why do we need to attach generics with functions? Right? For class, we can understand that they have some methods. Why we need to attach generics with functions? Because our functions also have types in TypeScript. Remember, let's say if you are saying that there is a function and function of add, right? There is a function and function of add. And if you are attaching a type of number to it, type of number, and if you are attaching a type as a number, then it should return a number. So let's say I will return 0, and it is working fine because 0 is a number. If I'm creating 0 as a string, error, because it cannot return a string. Again, there is a same problem, right? So what we will do is, let's try to create a particular function now. So this add function will accept two values. One value will be number a, another value will be b, which will also be number. Now at last, what it will do? It will declare one sum. Let sum is equals to a plus b. Now I have not declared the type of sum, right? Have I declared that which type, what is the type of sum? If I am returning that, return sum to it, return sum, it is not creating any error here. Why? Because it used the infinity also. Remember inference? Remember or not? Type inference. What is type inference? We have discussed type inference in class. Remember or not? Type inference means even if you are not deciding the type of any variable, TypeScript will try to predict. Now, what TypeScript will do? That the type of this sum we don't know, right? But what TypeScript will say? Okay, it is adding two variables a and a is number, b is number. If both are number and you are adding them, what you will get? String. Definitely we will get a number. That's why this sum is by default a number here. Until and unless you make some changes to it. Now what I will do, a plus b plus adding a string to it. Now let's say the value of a is 4, value of b is 5. Then what will be the answer? 9 Shivam. And that is not a number. That will be a string. That's why we are getting the error here now. So TypeScript will do the type inference also. Sometimes if you are not writing the type, TypeScript will try to predict it. Now let's work on this. So there are two numbers and I will return the number. What star? India versus Australia. Yes. What are you doing? Your mobile, right? So what do you think? I don't know whose mobile is this. What are you doing? Watching match? Then? Okay. Akhil is saying drone. Okay, very good. Now, what we will do? So I have assigned the type to my function as number. Then we have to return a number. If I'm writing console.log sum, it will be error. You have to return something. Let's say if I'm saying this particular part console.log sum. Now you are printing the value of sum, but this error will not go. This error will say you that particularly you are saying that the type of this add function is number, then at least return a number. So either you can return a predefined number, return 0. 0 is a number. So you can return 0 just for purpose. You can return 1, 2, 3, anything you can return. Or else you can return a value out of it. Now let's try to call this function. So I will call this function by add and then I will provide two values. Let's say 4 and 5. Okay, 4 and 5. And for that I'll create a new file, actually not in this way. So here in the generics, creating a file fungener. Fungener means generics fun. Now if you are trying to call this particular function, so let's do it. Now the file name is fun-gener. So I will write tsc fun-gener.ts and then node fun-gener.js. Now it is printing 9. Then what is the role of this return 0? What is the role of this return 0? Again, I am saying you that the role of return is very simple. There should be someone to accept it. Right? There should be someone to accept it. Now, if I am saying I am directly calling the function, you know what will be the flow of this function now? Let me tell you the flow of this particular function. I am calling this add 4 comma 5. I am giving two values 4 and 5. So 4 will go to A and 5 will go to B. Then I am saying that let sum is equals to A plus B. Then 4 plus 5, which will be 9. Then 9 is getting printed. After that, function is returning 0. But there is no one to accept it. What if I am printing this statement that console.log calling the add function with the values 4 and 5? So for that, we will write tsc funziner and then node. Now it is printing 9 at because of console.log and 0 because of this particular part. So that is the role of this particular 0. Now if you are creating a string function, because generally we are working with numbers and strings only, those two types. Right. Now let's say there is a function of concat, right? There is a function of concat. You understand concatenation? So now it will also accept two things. It will accept s1, which will be a string, and it will accept s2, which will be a string. Now if I am not assigning any type to this function, now there is no need to return. You can directly print. Let's say I will say console.log s1 plus s2. Now what this function will do, this function will take two string and after that it will concatenate them, and it will concatenate them with a space between them. Okay. As I am not assigning any type to this number, no need to return anything, right? No need to return anything and it will work fine. Let's try to do it. For that, I will say that concat first value I will give to it as Shivam, and Shivam is a string Shivam, and second thing we have to give here. Okay, now let's check it, and it's printing. So that is the role if you are assigned. Now let's say if I am assigning a particular type to it, I will say that the function will be of string. Now there is a error. Error will say you that you are trying to declare your function as a string function, then at least return some string, right? At least return some string. Now how you will return that string? Either directly you can write any particular string. Now the 0 is a string because you are writing it in double quote. This 0 is not a number and that error is removed. Or else you can return s1 plus s2 also. Return s1 plus s2. s1 plus s2. And instead of this console.log, I will do something like this. Let str is equals to s1 plus s2. And then at last I will return the str. Now again I am not declaring the type of str. So what typescript is using here? Type type inference. Type inference means sometime you don't have to declare the type. Now why don't have to declare the type of str? Because str will check you are trying to add s1 and s2 and both are string. Both are string. So definitely str will be a string. And as we know that this plus operator becomes a concatenation operator in terms of string. Now let's say if I'm writing minus here, then it will be an error. Why it is error now? Because we cannot subtract the strings. Once you are trying to subtract a string, then what it will say? Not a, it will return not a number, nan. It means that it is not a number. And definitely that's why this return is giving us the error. Type number is not assignable to type string. Now our typescript is assuming that this str is a number. Why? Because it is performing the this particular minus operation. What if I'm simply declaring this? I'm not using it anywhere. If you are declaring it, then it will accept that okay, it is a string. It's a string. Okay, now let's try to return the same way. I will say s1 plus s2 and return a string. Instead of this concat, I'll call it inside a function, because now we are not printing the value in the function, we are returning the value. So we need someone to either print it or someone to hold it. Done. But the case is how we are able to use generics now. This is how you attach the type and then you have to return the value. Now we will try to do the same thing. We will try to do the same thing. Now we have to write different function if you are using number or a string, or else you have to write union again. And with union, what is the problem? I already told you that with the database it is not compatible. Now let's try to use generics here. So I will say that there is a function and function name is myfun. This myfun will be using generics same way, T, A, whatever you can write. So now there is a function of myfun which will be using generics, which will accept two values. One value will be A and whose type will be T. No number, T. Generics, right? Then there will be something as B whose type will be T. Now it will return something, or must be in capital only, sir? No, it's not like that. You can write small letter also. I already told it. Doesn't matter in which you are writing, you have to write it same way in all the places. If here you have declared with the small t, then everywhere you just write the small t. If you have written a small a here, write small a everywhere. Even in the notes also I have mentioned the same thing. The T is just the letter used here. You can use any particular letter. So it's not a big deal. But T just represent the type safety. So in the notes here, I have declared small t, right? It's not a big deal. Now there is a function of myfun whose type is of generic type. It will accept two values, A and B. Now what it will do? And let what it will return, there also I will say that it will return T. Okay, but you might get confusion, so I am removing this part for now. After that, what I will do is, let's say let sum equals to a plus b, sum equals to a plus b. Now there is a problem here, and it is saying you this part, that plus cannot be applied to type t and t, right? It is saying you that this particular thing is not applied on type t. Like it is saying that you are not able to write the value, means you cannot concatenate them. That's why I have removed that here. Instead of that, if you are directly printing the value console.log a with space and then you are trying to print b, it means that the function will accept two values and print them. Or let's say write a message here. So I will say that the user has entered A, and here I will say A and B. Okay, the user has entered A and B. Now you just try to call this function. So calling the function for first time, calling the function for first time. After that, let's call the function. So I will say myfun. In myfun, it will accept two values. So let's give Shivam NIT, something like this, and these are the strings, so we have to give them as a string now. Okay, now our function is accepting two string values, right? It is accepting two values. Let's try to run the application now. The user has entered Shivam and NIT. Now what I will do is, by using the same function, this time I will give number values. So here I will say calling the function for first time. with string values. With string values. Now calling the function with number values. My fun, and here I will write 12 comma 20, and it's fine, right? Let's try to run them. The user has entered 12 and 20. Let's try to call the function with the boolean values now. Calling the function with boolean values. What is boolean value? True or false. So I will call the function with false comma true. False comma true. Means first value is false and second value is true. The user has entered false and true. The same function is able to accept any kind of value by using the generics. Now let's try to accept the mixed values. Mixed values means both number and string at the same time. So let's call the function here. I will say calling the function with mixed values. My fun, and here let's first write the number 12 and then I will write India. Now this is what we are getting when you are trying to use the things. Error is there and we are getting the compile time error. What the error is saying you? Argument of type string is not assignable to parameter of type number. What does it mean? Let's swap the values. At first I will assign the string and then I will assign the number. Then number will get the error. Now you were asking no how generics will help you to achieve the type safety like this way. You can use generics for writing any type, but type should be uniform. Type should be means if you are deciding that okay we will use string, then use string only. If you are saying that we will use numbers, then use numbers only. It's not like that you can use mixed things. Okay. Now as you are writing India and then if you are trying to assign a number value, it is throwing you error. It is saying you that argument of type number is not assignable to type string. Now what is this t here for this particular mixed function? What is the value of t? T is string because you have assigned the first value as string. Let's try to assign the first value as a boolean value. So I will say true comma 12. Then 12 is having error. So why 12 is having error? So it will say you that argument of type number is not assignable to type boolean. Means you are trying to assign number to, and this is how generics are helping you to achieve type safety. Understood now? Now is it clear? My fun TU, this is correct. Guys, okay, whenever I am teaching something at that time, I think you should try to learn the things. Don't message in the unnecessary things because hardly we are able to see your messages. We will give you enough time for that. Okay? For asking your questions. Now, Gopesh is saying that if you are assigning the two types, let's say you are trying to say that we will use T and U. In this way, you will use it. And for the second value, you are saying that I will accept a U value, right? Means you are creating a group of generics now. So now this error is removed. You are declaring two generics now. One generics with the type T and second generics with the type U. Second generics with the type U. And what it will do? It will create two different columns. Now also it's not like that you can assign any value. You can assign, but all the value will go to the different columns in the database, they will not be going into the same. There will be one column. I will tell you how. Now let's say there is here you are storing the age. So there will be sub columns. So let's say this is a age column. Let's say this is your age column. It will have sub columns. What it will have? Sub column. Here you are trying to store age and it will have sub columns. One sub column will be for t. If it is accepting any t value, it will come here. And if it is accepting any u value, it will come here. So let's say u like this, t like this. Type safety will be maintained every time if you are using generics, which is not possible in case of union and intersection. So even we don't use this part for maintaining our type safety, we don't create a group of generics. We just mention it with the one type of only. Okay. So this is how you use your generics with functions. Understood? Understood or not? Generics with functions. This is how you use generics with classes, and this is how you use generics with functions. And I think so here I will comment out this part. And mixed values, generally it will produce error. It will produce error because of type safety. Because of type safety. This part will also have error. So you can comment out this. Or if you don't want to comment out, you can use it. Okay? Understood? So that's how we use our generics. Now you tell me if there is any doubt in class-based generics and function-based generics. No doubt. We have one more task to do here with the functions only. But first you clear these two things. Understood? Clearly? Okay. Now what we will do is, let's create a new file and here I will name it as something called opgener. Opgener means you are trying to perform some operation. So here I will give comment that performing operations in generics based function. In generics based functions. Okay. So again the same way I will say that there is a function of add which will be of type generics. See, if you want to use this particular naming convention, either use type T or type G. Type T stands for type safety and G for generics, right? So that's a good way to use. You can use anything. It's not a problem here. You can use A, B, C, D, anything you can use, but use it in all the places then. So this time I will use G. There is a add function and it is a generic function which will accept two value. First value will be G and second value will also be G type. And then what this function will return? This function will return the value as G only, right? This function will return the value as G only. Okay, this is, I have get a JS file. So change it to TS. Okay. Now what I have done is for the same file, I am saying that this function will return a G type of value. Now, if you are trying to perform some function, let's say I will say that there is something called sum and sum is having a type as G. Okay. There is some value which will be a type of sum and which will be, now let's try to assign it. So I will say that sum is equals to 0. Sum is equals to 0. Now, why this sum is giving the error now? I can assign any value to the generics, but this sum is, let's say what sum is saying. Sum is saying that type number is not assignable to type G. Type number is not assignable to type G. It means that directly you cannot assign the value to the properties. You have to give the properties to the arguments only, right? So for that, what I will do is, let's create this particular sum inside uh, scope only. So here I will say that there is another thing which is sum, and that will be of G only. After this, let's try to return sum from here. Return sum. And it will return sum, but there is no value of sum. If you are writing the value of sum as 0 now, again there will be same problem, because these value are assignable when you are calling them in a function, right? Even though, if let's say here, if you are saying this dot sum, maybe you are getting this in mind that we can assign this dot sum, which will be a reference of class, which will be a reference of class. Now what is the type of this sum? Number. 0 means number. Okay, then I will say this dot a is equals to Shivam, and then I will say this dot b is equals to anything, let's say NIT. After that, I will print, let's say I will say sum equals to, sure, I will say sum equals to this dot a plus this dot b. Now tell me what it will return, Shivam NIT or something else it will return. Okay, let's call this function. So once I'm calling this function console.log add, and add is accepting two values, so just write a and b and c. Because there are three parameters here, we have to use these parameters. Okay, not this file, we will say tsc operation ts, and it is printing Shivam NIT. But there's a lot of confusion in this code. There is lot of confusion in this code. I will keep it very simple. So there is a value which will accept generic value. There is b which will accept generic value, and after that I will say this thing. Let's try to perform a add function, because this is a add function. So let's declare a type of sum which will add this dot a plus this dot b. Why I'm using this here? Because we are not, means we are giving a generics class reference. After this, we have already used this keyword, right? Don't have any confusion here. And now if I am returning the sum, returning the sum. Now here I will say calling the function, let's print the value of sum instead of returning. Calling the function with number values. So add function I will call with 3 comma 4. Now what it should give us? 7, right? It should give us 7. It is saying that not a number. It means that whenever you are trying to print console.log sum, it is saying that not a, why it is not a number? Why it is not a number? It was not that much easy if you are thinking, right? Why it is saying that it's not a number? Now who is not a number? Sum A or B, which one is not a number? We are giving the number values, but it is saying that it is not a number. So I will comment out this part, and then you just check if you are checking the type of A and B. So here I will write console.log type of A plus type of B. And whatever value I am giving, it should tell me that type. Okay. For A and B both, it is saying that these are the numbers. Then why sum is not a number? Say it loudly. I am printing the value, sir. Console.log sum. It should print. Now the case is when you are writing 3 and 4 as values, it is saying that number. Let's write string here. So this one will be string, this one will be string. Let's check the output again. And this time it should say string string. It's saying string string because A and B both are string now. When you are trying to add two numbers, it's not giving you output, right? It should give you output. It should give you output or not? No? Okay. Before printing this value of sum, just check the type of sum. Okay? Just check the type of sum. Type of sum is number. Then when you are trying to add this value a plus b, why it is not getting printed? Now a and b are number. Sum is also a number. When you are printing the sum, it is saying not a number. Or let me remove your doubt. If you are calling this function and printing that value, now we will check what is this return sum holding, right? What is this return sum holding? Not a number. Why we are not able to add the number? Because see here we check the type of A. What we got? Number. Type of B. Type of sum. But when executing the program, it is saying sum is not a number. Now what is the problem here? Do we have to use constructor here? Yes. Do we have to use the constructor here? Yes. It's not a class. Constructor is for classes, right? This is a simple function. Constructor is for classes, right? This is a function. Okay. If you are trying to add directly A and B in this way, then error. What the error will say you? Plus operator cannot be applied to type G and G. Means you cannot apply the type to, but we check the type of A and B. Both these are number. Why it is saying that these are the G type? Why it is saying this thing to you? So I think in the notes I have mentioned this part. Once you are going there, or this one, generic functions. In TypeScript, generic function allow you to write function that can operate on multiple types while still maintaining type safety. By using generics, you can write a single function that can accept argument and return value of any type without losing the benefit of TypeScript's type system. And this is the syntax that we have written there. So there I have kept one particular program. You can check that. Now What is this? This one. Read this line again. By using generics, you can write a single function that can accept arguments and return values of any type. That can return values of any type. Any type means any type. Either it is a string, either it's a boolean, either it's a. Then how to perform operations here? How to perform the operations? If you are having any confusion in this, let me remove this out. And so there is a function of add which will use generics inside it, and it will accept two values. Both will be having the generics value. This will return the t type. Okay, this will return the t type. Let's declare a sum value which will also be t. Then if you are trying to say that sum is equals to a plus b, now this will be an error, and error will say you that plus cannot be applied to types t and t. So is it trying to say us that we cannot declare or we cannot use any operation in generics? Then what is the benefit of generics? We should be able to perform the operations also, right? If this is a function, we should be able to perform operation also. This is the case. You can assign the sum as number also. Let's say the sum is number. Then also it will say you that it's not available. Can we typecast the values? You know typecasting? What is typecasting? Converting one data type to another. How we do this thing in JavaScript? Parseint. If you want to convert a number into a, let's say you have a string, you want to convert it to a number, what you will do? Parseint. You will do or not? Parseint you will do. So something like that. If you are saying here that a equals to parseint of a, not allowed. Again it will say the same thing, that you cannot use these things on a type. Number is not assignable to type t. It is giving you one hint now. Last, don't talk. T could be instantiated with an arbitrary type which could be unrelated to number. Which will be unrelated to number. Let me sort it out some for you. What if we are not giving the types to our variable in t? What happens if we give it to number? And second one also I will give to number. But this function will return t type only. Now if you are saying that sum equals to a plus b, and then if you are returning the sum, so we will be expecting error. Error will say you should return t type and you are returning the number type. If you are typecasting it to t, then this sum will have error, that how you are adding two numbers in t. And now this thing is your task for today, right? This particular thing is your task for today. I will post the same task to Google Classroom also. That search over how to perform operation in generic function. If we are not able to perform the operation, then what is the reason for it? I will upload the rest of the code. This generics code I will give you, right? But you have to check that what is the procedure for that. Perform the operations in a generic function. Okay. Notes are already uploaded, right? For generics, you can find these notes already there, but I will upload the code. Yesterday I gave you code in GitHub. Okay. entire thing. Let me check the GitHub once. Generics or oops. Okay, let's create generics. First, you tell me generics in class is clear, generics in functions clear, except operations that you should do now. How many days to complete the course? Tomorrow will in 10 minutes we will finish this part of generics. Then decorators, namespace module, two topics are there. So what is today? Wednesday, right? So if we are finishing it tomorrow, Thursday, then Friday, Saturday we will start. Means in this week we will starting the Angular, and Angular will take around 30 to 35 classes, generally 30 only, not more than that. So you can count number of classes. You can remove 25th of December because I think it will be a holiday on the occasion of Christmas. So generics files I have uploaded in a new repository and I will paste the same thing to you. Don't talk, guys. And hopefully this Saturday we will having a test, unit test. Paste the app link. What app link? Don't talk. You are in the first row, right? Node.js. Alright, just directly go to your particular browser and type download Node.js. Are you take database classes? Not now. I am taking only the framework classes, React, Angular, Spring Boot. Node class code. Performing the function operations in generic functions. Instruction are very create a generic function which will be having some arguments and then try to perform some operations on those arguments. It is for all. Due date is tomorrow. You have to submit it before tomorrow. After that, you have to submit the answers to Google Classroom only. Right? Done. Now we will take your questions. Let me come. After completion of Angular course, can I apply Angular job as 1 year experience? After applying the completing the course, 1 year experience, you can say 2 years of experience also. But there is a trick. You have to have good projects with you, and what you will show where you have worked in 1 year. There is no background check in companies. Let's say if I'm applying somewhere now and I'm saying that okay, I am working from last 5 years, so they will ask employment history also. There is a bank account which is credited every month. There is a PF account that is credited every month. There are your letters. You can generate fake letters, it's not a big deal, but you cannot generate bank account. Even if you are editing those, there will be a strict checking in big companies. But if you are targeting any startup, that you can do that I am working from 1 year. That's why I have given you that internship, right? You can mention that. Not 1 year, but 1 month, 2 month, 3 month. This is what you can say. Because for that you have proper mail, proper submission, and proper letter. Okay. How should I build resume? Please suggest me. Okay, Saturday is your test for half an hour, and rest of the time we will be building the resume. And I will share my template also that I am using. Please share Google Classroom link. Can we try function add t a t b t and then t like this is so it will run anytime? Mansi, we are trying to do the same thing, but what you will add when we are trying to add a and b?